Identity hedging, 25th of November 2025. I've been thinking about identity lately, not necessarily of me or my own, but others as well, with how they have their own senses of their own identities. I had the thought of what you identify with is what you want to be validated for, not only externally, but also internally as a hedging against a lack of identity or sense of self. Reference points to waymark your existence, to validate your cosmic relevance. I find that thought and that as a concept itself so interesting. Ego death comes to mind as the sense of self or identity having no reference points. Whether or not ego death is a good or bad thing, feeling inner peace or the void, it has no direction or movement to it. Having a sense of self by identifying with things is a hedge against stagnation of the soul, in some sense. I think that with this concept, I need to be more careful and considerate with how I identify my sense of self with things about me or what I do, if it's what I seek validation for. I think that if the inherent measurement is movement, the waymarkers of things to attach to need to be chosen by the metric of is it purposeful or not, almost in a binary sense. I think that some things that people identify with are false flags in a sense, as something that isn't purposeful in this regard of direction or movement. People who heavily identify with their pronouns and sexual orientation being an example. X person might be a he, they, and they like shagging the same gender as themselves, or Y person might be a they, them, and like shagging anyone. I think to that, cool, so what, if they heavily identify with those things in the pursuit of being validated for them? Sure, they make someone who they are as a part of their identity, but I think that those such things aren't necessarily purposeful waymarkers to hedge with. I say this as a straight white dude, probably from a place of ignorance, but I don't think those sorts of things are respectively things to constructively or purposefully identify with as a central thing to essentially seek validation for. I'd find it senseless for myself to almost promote the fact that I'm a dude who likes chicks as a thing to be validated for, because so fucking what? How would that serve me in the direction or movement of my life? What would that actually do for myself or anyone else as a thing to heavily identify with? I think of those sorts of things as seeking accolade for something that deserves no more than a participation award, when it's contextually a central hedging part of one's identity. Identifying as something of a gym rat does serve me and probably a lot of others though. Even though I'm a fat fuck right now in this moment, I still go to the gym very consistently because it's a part of me and my life that actually serves me with direction, or at the very least, at the fat fuck moment, the intention of movement, no pun intended, and direction in life. That sort of thing to identify with meets the threshold of not being a zero in the contextually binary sense of, does it actually get me anywhere with identifying with this thing? That's where I think the validation aspect comes in. Whether or not it somehow serves to be deserving or not of validation. To be careful about hedging my identity with the right things or just not the false ones, so to speak, that don't necessarily deserve the validation. Because I won't truly ever give it or get it for those such things if they're a central part of the hedging. So that's something to think about. Where am I hedging my identity as for my sense of self in the right and wrong places, in how they serve me for the pursuit of validation of me, intrinsically and extrinsically? What you identify with is what you want to be validated for. Me yesterday afternoon in the gym. Does X thing hedged with actually garner any of the validation I inherently am trying to seek for or with it? Does my identity or sense of self actually serve me and or others in the contextual pursuit of earning or deserving validation, having or being good of character?